Peterson needs to go. Bottom line, if we want Jalen Hurts to become a top 6 to 10 quarterback in fantasy football, if we want Miles Sanders to become a top 6 to 10 running back in fantasy football, Peterson needs to go.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty! Take a lap. Let's talk about the Eagles for a second. Doug Peterson benched Jalen Hurts in Week 17, and not only did it create waves in fantasy football communities everywhere, it created waves in that locker room in Philly. Peterson needs to go. Bottom line, if we want Jalen Hurts to become a top 6 to 10 quarterback in fantasy football, if we want Miles Sanders to become a top 6 to 10 running back in fantasy football, Peterson needs to go. Heading into 2020, one of my biggest avoids for the running back position was Miles Sanders. People were ranking him way too high, going at 12 to 15 in some cases, and there were red flags galore surrounding Miles Sanders' situation in Philly. Peterson doesn't use one running back. He leans on multiple running backs.
But Smitty,
there's no other running back there. How could this be true? Boston Scott.
Who's Boston Scott?
Peterson will find a way to use multiple running backs. He will find a way to not lean on his number one running back. Historically, the writing is on the wall. This is one of my biggest reasons for avoiding Miles Sanders, and it proved to be true. Even in a scenario where there was really no other running back, I like Boston Scott. I do. I liked him a lot heading into 2020 as a late, final round grab, partially because of all this. This was the time for Miles Sanders to shine. And per touch, per start, per carry, he's efficient. Give him the football. But I know Peterson, and I don't trust him at all. And if he's in Philly, he holds Jalen Hurts back, he holds the offense back, he holds Miles Sanders back, he holds the entire team back, he holds back any momentum or good vibes heading into 2021, and there should be a lot of them because of the emergence of Jalen Hurts. Like, this is the future of your organization. You can build around this exciting player that has top 6 to 10 potential at the quarterback position. You don't run into that very often. There are teams that would kill to have Jalen Hurts on the roster. And what does Peterson do walking into Week 16 when Hurts is clearly the future? The momentum's there. The fans are excited. Everybody wants Jalen in the lineup. What does he say when they ask him, reporters, about Week 17?
We're not ready to commit to our Week 17 starter yet.
We're going to put Hurts in the lineup for Week 16 and
play it by ear.
This is the kind of coach that does not get internal support by the players. And his decision to bench Jalen Hurts in Week 17 caused a ripple effect within that locker room that I hope changes the way the Eagles approach Peterson moving forward. A report a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago, surfaced that said Peterson was most likely going to stay in Philly for another year. A report that made me massively upset. It affects the value of both Miles Sanders, Hurts, and every other decision that happens in Philly. I know a lot of you might like Rager, but he was not the right wide receiver to draft in 2020. And Philly could be in a position that maybe they can go get DeVonta Smith, Jamar Chase, pair that wide receiver with Jalen Hurts and have a quarterback to wide receiver connection that all of our grandkids will be talking about. If we get a better coach in Philly, a coach the players can get behind, a coach that can get behind his players, I'm telling you right now, it's the difference between next year's Buffalo Bills emerging in Philly or a team never reaching its potential, and maybe even an unraveling of a guy like Jalen Hurts that doesn't ever get the confidence he should have got because the leadership wasn't there, the support wasn't there. There are many players in the NFL, at the NFL level, that they have a window of confidence, a window to execute and become that player. And if the coaching is bad, the coaching is wrong, the support isn't there, they can never develop and become the player they were supposed to be. I think Jalen Hurts is in a very critical window of time where he needs support, he needs backing, he needs them to draft a wide receiver, which I think there's 100% better shot of it happening with Peterson out of there. We need Peterson gone. And my hope here is that this riff this wave of concern is going to cascade through the organization, and they make the right move and they say we need to relook at this. Peterson is not going to return, and then we have a top 6 to 10 quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And then we have Smitty, the biggest doubter of Miles Sanders heading into 2020, which I was proven right on. You have me supporting Miles Sanders heading into 2021, especially if his ADP is in a very good place, which I think it could be. Philly, do the right thing. Get a coach in there that's for the players. Get a coach in there that's going to motivate and turn the franchise around, because you are the 2021 Buffalo Bills, if you know it or don't know it. But the right coach is needed for that to come to fruition. Okay, Josh Jacobs in the news again. I took a lot of heat from some of my own people too, that I was taking too hard of a stance on Josh Jacobs because he blocked me on social media because I went after him and blasted him for telling fantasy fans to F off, F your fantasy, to meet people at the stadium. Here's where you can find me. Let me give you the address of the stadium. Come show me in person. Showing poor judgment and decision making for a guy that should be focused and trying to improve upon his game and his craft. This is a running back that did not have a big track record in college at all. His biggest season ever at the college level was in the 600-yard range, never carrying the ball 700 yards at the college level. No evidence at all of being a between the tackles, grinded out 1,000-yard rusher for the NFL. We don't know if he's built for that. The shoulder injury last year, multiple lingering injuries this year. Red flags are emerging all over the place with Josh Jacobs. So whether I was high on him in the offseason based on his ADP, doesn't matter. I can change my mind. I love when people in the comments are like, "Hey Smitty, you loved him in the offseason. How can you not like him now?" We get new information, we adapt, and we change our rankings. We change everything. And yeah, maybe him blocking me on IG does rub me the wrong way. Maybe I am going to be slightly biased in my rankings because of that. But if you're reading between the lines, there's something in that, the story being told, a picture being painted, that this guy isn't focused, that he's not right in his right frame of mind. I'm not saying he's AB, but when you start seeing signs of a player off the field unraveling, we need to look at it differently than we ever have before based on the case of AB. AB needs to reshape the way we account for players off the field behavior, their focus level. Juju Smith-Schuster, worried about dancing more than he is football, worried about TikTok more than he is football, worried about fantasy drafts and doing all kinds of outside of football activities. I don't want my players doing that. I want my players in the weight room. I want my players playing themselves in Madden over and over on a couch in between workout sessions at the facility.
Up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start.
I don't want my players dancing all over the place. I don't want my players threatening to fight people in a parking lot in a stadium or telling people to F your fantasy. I don't care about your fantasy. Those aren't me complaining or crying or saying, oh, they should worry about what I think. I'm this little man, and I'm not saying, oh, they need to worry about what I think. That hurts my feelings. I don't care if a player says, hey, I don't know, I'm out there playing the game. I don't focus on fantasy football. That's a dismissive stance we love. We don't care about that kind of stance. You can be dismissive over fantasy and still respect your fans. When you don't respect your fans, it's a very different thing. So stop saying, oh, Smitty, you're crying because Josh Jacobs says F your fantasy. He doesn't care about your fantasy. Your fantasy doesn't matter. I get that. We're talking about completely different things. I don't mind players being dismissive of fantasy. But when you put the bird finger up and say F your fantasy, and you tell people to meet you at the stadium, tell me how you're focused on the game or the desire of a franchise to have you on the roster. Tell me how those things won't pile up one after the other and create a bad situation for a player that is not proven, that has an injury history, that can get games scripted out of football games like that, plays for a team that you worry about, are they going to run the ball the whole game? And now all of this bad decision making. Now I haven't even talked about the graphic that's been sitting on screen, because this just happened. This happened after I got all the negative hate on my stance of Josh Jacobs heading into 2021. Jacobs arrested for a DUI in Las Vegas on Monday morning. He was in a vehicle collision near the airport and was transported to the hospital. Then he was cleared. Then he was taken to Clark County Detention Center and booked for DUI. Fines are on the way. Potential suspension. You tell me how this isn't completely parallel with what I've been talking about. He's a big avoid. Some of you traded him away in Dynasty and took advantage of that earlier on, but trust in Jacobs in 2021 at your own risk. I am avoiding him entirely. We're going to start mock drafting a ton in the coming weeks, but starting even today, tomorrow night, we're going to do a lot of mock drafting. But what's going to be fun is where a lot of these guys go in early mock drafts that maybe a couple weeks ago or a month ago weren't going high at all. Like David Montgomery was a 4th and 5th round player when we did early midseason mock drafts. David Montgomery's been on fire down the stretch in 2020, and it will be interesting to see if he climbs into like 2nd round value. He ran, according to this stat right here, ran the 2nd most pass routes among running backs in 2020. And granted, Tariq Cohen was out. That could have something to do with it. But Montgomery's a guy that could be a top, 6 to 10 running back moving forward. In Dynasty, you want to value him as late as you can in order to protect you into, risk of Chicago screwing this up. But, I mean, he is a potential low-end running back 1 at the very least if you're building in a unique way that you're stacking wide receivers. You have your undervalued running back 1 in David Montgomery. Make sure you check out my new series here on YouTube where I break down one player at a time, do a 10-15 minute rant on that player's redraft and dynasty value, whether you should trade for him, trade him away. And the first 2 were Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley. On the docket, I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I have J.K. Dobbins, I have the rookies DeVonta Smith and Chase. I'll be doing the rookie running backs as well. But in the comments, tell me what player you want me to focus on next, and I will try and put them on the docket for my new series, these individual player breakdowns. And where are you getting your fantasy football news? I hope you're getting it from me at sleeperu.com. Sleeperu.com is the best news wire, in my opinion, that you're going to find, because I break down every single piece of news from both a redraft and a dynasty perspective. It's all sortable based on whatever category you're looking for. If you're looking for news that relates to being mock drafted or injuries or breakout sleepers, busts, whatever, it's all sortable. It's all at sleeperu.com. Get on over there and learn about it. And also become a YouTube exclusive member. All you got to do is click on the join button on my YouTube homepage, and you can get exclusive videos and access to 2 Zoom calls per week. We do these 2 times a week on these Zoom calls, so make sure you click that join button on my YouTube page. I will see you later. I'm not clocking out. I've got more videos to create today, and down below at sleeperu.com, I'm cranking out news all day long, so make sure you get your news from me. sleeperu.com.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty.